All right, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I really don't remember which NFT mint it was. I thought it was Ether Royal, but I'm not so sure on that. I think the pre-sale was going on, and I think that's what drove it up. Part of the reason. If you guys can help remind me, I think it was that one. I'm getting it all shared, getting the stream shared out too. So give me a bit. Either way, we'll cover Ether Royale as well today. Get going. Yeah, because mainly it's just a gaming PC. I only ever started mining whenever we're here. And then it gets stopped. It's a gaming PC, bruh. All right. Hello and welcome everybody to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. I'm your host. I go by BlindRod on the interwebs. That is my gamer tag dating all the way back to the early Counter-Strike days, not CSGO, way before that. In addition, my IRL name is Matthew, and today we're going to be talking about the cryptocurrency mining market and its increase in profitability and some reasons why that may be. It mainly focuses around Ethereum, and a lot of that has to do with, of course, the way the fee structures work within Ethereum. Other than that, we have two new miner releases to talk about. We have XMRig and BZ Miner. We also have the 6050 XT SKUs from AMD getting delayed. We are also going to be talking about some Vietnamese gamers and, of course, the typical gamer uproar surrounding cryptocurrency miners. This one in particular is surrounding RTX A4000, which seems a little odd. We're also going to be talking about Riot Blockchain, how much they mined in March. And then, of course, we have a breach on Cash App that we need to talk about. That is Jack Dorsey's block company, if you're not familiar. And then we will talk about the mining profitability for the day, as always. But before we get into it, here's the ad. Today's sponsor is myself. To support the channel, click the join button below the video and you will get access to our privately hosted Rocket Chat. Selecting the $1.99 option will get you access, and after that you need to head over to the membership tab, scroll down, and expand out your membership perks. Find the section for connecting on social media, and in that section there will be a secret registration URL to join Rocket Chat, where you can sign up to enjoy talking with other cryptocurrency enthusiasts and miners without spammers, scammers, or bots. Welcome back. We did a little camera adjustment in the back while you guys are watching the ad. Gave me a little opportunity. Let's go ahead and get into the first miner release for the day. It's going to be XMRig version 6.17. And here are the notes. Ghostwriter algorithm release notes. So Ghostwriter is apparently they had already supported Ghostwriter. We've covered it on the channel. I think what this is just notes that there is additional basically modifications to the Ghostwriter algorithm for XMRig. VAES optimizations not supported by this version here on Linux due to old compiler, and it says please use this version for Linux instead. You have your random X benchmark. You have Kapow release notes, surprisingly here, which I think we're going to go over. And then they say stay tuned about updates you can follow on Twitter if you guys like. Links down in the description. There is a configuration wizard update, some management panel for miners, and NVIDIA CUDA mining support. Use any regular version with CUDA plugin. So to me, it sounds like there is something going on with not just CPU support or CPU mineable coin support, that also in turn typically has some GPU support. It sounds like they're branching out into GPU mineable only coins here with this Pihole release note, surprisingly. So if we go over to here, you can see supported platforms are OpenCL for AMD GPUs and CUDA for NVIDIA GPUs. This is actually quite interesting here and not something that I would have expected from XMRig. And XMRig's been around very, very long time. One of the earliest miners that's been out, and branching out into a new algorithm that's completely focused on GPUs is quite the move. Should be interesting to check it out. I would assume that, and this could be just way off base, but I want to try it out. I would assume that XMRig wouldn't release something for a GPU mineable coin unless they were competitive or had some sort of competitive advantage for whatever reason. I don't know what that would be, but it's definitely going to be something to take a look at, I think, at the end of the day. Now, some other fixes. They did fix Ghost Rider with the HW lock disabled. They fixed displaying the DMI memory information for empty sockets. And then, of course, they have these few little Darrow HE fork support. And I'm not familiar with the Darrow, so maybe you guys can help me out with that one in the comment section or on Twitter, or of course in live chat. Following that up, we also have a release from BZ Miner. This is version 8.1.4. Links will be down in the description. Released 17 hours ago. And what's in this release? They fixed invalid shares when solo mining Caspa. So it may be something to check out. I'm still using the Caspa dedicated miner. I should probably try BZ Miner, especially with the fixes for the solo mining, because I am currently solo mining. So here's what's in the release for well, we don't need to go over this. We've already covered 8.1.2 and we've already covered 8.1.1 in previous videos. So if you're interested, you can go back and check those out. Just seems to be a minor fix specifically in relation to Caspa, which has been, honestly, for a spec coin, has been making waves. I do think that obviously part of that is due to, everybody that watches this channel and me being spec mining it. Obviously, that is going to drive some interest regardless. So once again, it's not financial advice. And we run into the problem of being a cryptocurrency mining influencer, which means if I mention a coin, unfortunately, that means the visibility of that coin goes up, which means the potential price goes up. And it doesn't mean that I'm correct about the coin. It just means that I talked about the coin, and that's it. That's the disclaimer for all of these types of, especially speculative mining coins. And I want to make that very clear. Now, in the case of Caspa in particular, the reason why I'm interested in it is because of the modified heavy hash algorithm, which is a precursor to optical proof of work, which would require potentially in the future very expensive hardware to go ahead and continue to mine it. But as it sits in its early days, it is the traditional CPU and GPU mineable coin. And that's kind of why we can mine it for now. But it's not something that I would necessarily anticipate that would be hold any sort of longevity for GPU mining in the future, as my understanding is that algorithm would push you towards definitely specific optical proof of work hardware. Let's go ahead and talk about the 6950 XT and the 6750 XT and the 6650 XT and their delay. This is coming from WCCF Tech. AMD Radeon 6950 XT, 6750 XT, and 6650 XT graphics cards launch delayed to the 10th of May at midnight. At 10th of May, not at midnight, but that would be kind of fun. Midnight releases used to be a thing before the interweb. But midnight black reference models pictured. So here's the reference models. They look pretty much exactly like the old reference models, best I can tell, except we do have another color variant here for the reference models with some kind of dark, I guess, not quite black, but that midnight gray look on the fans as well as kind of the accents here. And then, of course, you can have that kind of on the inverse over here on this one, which is more what you would see, I think, in the older ones as well. I have a 6800 that looks like this pretty much. The AMD RDNA 2 graphics card refresh featuring the Radeon RX 6950 XT, 6750 XT, and 6650 XT has been delayed till the 10th of May. The AMD RDNA 2 refreshed graphics cards were previously expected to launch on the 20th of April alongside the Ryzen 7 5800X 3D CPU, which personally I'm excited for, by the way. But that's no longer the case. It is likely that AMD may still do a little teaser announcement, but these cards aren't expected to ship until the 10th of May, as reported by Video Cards. Here's some more pictures. I really like the looks of this one over here, which I think is the 69 or 6650 XT. This kind of cut down model with the single 8-pin. It just looks so cute. I love it. In addition to the delay, it looks like Video Cards has also managed to obtain pictures of the trio that will now come in the fan favorite midnight black color scheme. The flagship AMD Radeon RX 6950 XT will utilize the same design as the existing RX 6800 XT Black Edition, while the other two cards will be getting a major overhaul in design. The RX 6750 XT will come in a triple fan and slightly bigger 2-slot design, while the 6650 XT will go with a dual fan cooler. While some may think that the new designs are to keep the thermals in check, the cards won't be that much different in heat output than their existing AMD Radeon RX 6000 series variants. Only a GDDR6 clock bump, which we are interested in as miners, and a slight clock improvement won't change the heat output of these cards that much, but the updated design is AMD showcasing their engineering expertise and how they can devise multiple solutions for various classes of graphics cards. Overall, it's a pretty neat overhaul by AMD. Now, obviously, this is the big one for us as miners that we're interested in, which is that clock bump we're going to get on the memory. The AMD Navi 21, Navi 22, and Navi 33 GPUs are the ones that will be refreshed for the upcoming Radeon RX 6X50 XT lineup. That's hard to say. The AMD, it put a frog in my throat. There we go. The AMD Navi 21 GPU currently powers the Radeon RX 6900 XT, RX 6800 XT, and the RX 6800, while the Navi 22 powers the 6700 XT, and the Navi 23 GPU powers the 6600 XT and the 6600 on the desktop platform. The graphics cards will feature 18 gigabits per second memory, along with certain clock enhancements. From the previous rumor, we came to know these cards would also feature that 18 gigabits per second of GDDR6 memory dies. Currently, all cards except the upcoming RX 6500 XT and the flagship RX 6900 XT LC feature 16 gigabits per second of memory dies. The bump to the 18 gigabits per second might offer higher bandwidth and increase performance by 2 to 5%, but that doesn't indicate a huge difference with the refreshed series. There are obviously going to be some process enhancements incorporated in the new RDNA 2 refresh GPU, since we've heard rumors of the 6950 XT clocking over 2.5 gigahertz, which should make it actually extremely fun to test on Toncoin, to be clear. All right, so it would have been worthwhile if AMD gave its existing desktop GPUs the 6nm treatment and managed to get more performance efficiency out of them, but that clearly isn't happening. It looks like this is a soft refresh, will feature both reference Midnight Black and custom model designs. There would also be a small price difference, and the TGP numbers are expected to go up slightly with the addition of the faster memory chips. These GPUs will likely compete with Intel's high-end Arc Alchemist GPUs that are launching in a few months, while the Radeon RX 6950 XT flagship is clearly aimed at NVIDIA's RTX 3090 Ti graphics card, which is one power-hungry insanity. The following table shows the RDNA 2 graphics cards that AMD is currently offering. You can see here the faster memory times, which is what we're interested in, the 18 gigabits per second. And then the most exciting one will probably be the 6650X with XT with the 18 gigabits per second. If I had to take a bet, I'm not necessarily a betting man, but I would take the bet that the 6650 XT will be the one that miners want to pick up from a hash to watt ratio, especially with that faster memory. Alrighty, gamers are at it again through videocars.com complaining about graphics card supply, and this time due to someone utilizing RTX A4000 cards. This is coming from videocars.com. Even workstation graphics cards are subject to crypto abuse. I mean, they always have been, but all right. Gamers in Vietnam have been struggling to find graphics cards at good prices for their rigs for 2 years now. This is mainly because local retailers and internet cafes have turned their business into either crypto mining operations. Well, or something else, I guess maybe, but turned them into it. Now, last year I was looking at a LAN center to purchase, and I wanted to make something clear here too. A lot of these internet cafes, they will run miners on the PCs while they aren't actually being rented out and utilized. This is actually a full-on software suite that a lot of LAN gaming software companies offer for you to go ahead and utilize so that you can monetize those systems while they're not in use in a LAN gaming center or a internet cafe. So it's kind of unfair to really frame it in this form, because what they're showing here is a picture of cryptocurrency miners. But what they're attacking here too is an internet cafe, where the internet cafe, yes, would be mining cryptocurrency, but not in the same form that you would see with a whole bunch of crypto mining rigs. Essentially, they're still going to have individual PCs set up, and on the network, it basically goes out and looks for activity. And what I saw is most of the time the miners are running on some sort of network drive. And when it detects that usage is below a certain level, it shoots it over and it runs a crypto miner on that particular system. This is not new. This is something that's been around for a few years for internet cafes and LAN gaming centers. And yes, they're mining cryptocurrency, but that is not their sole purpose. Their sole purpose and their main business model is still the internet cafe or LAN gaming portion of this, because you're going to make still a lot more money with a full PC renting that out by the hour to someone than you would by basically only mining cryptocurrency with it. It looks like content creators and professionals thinking of buying one of the RTX A4000 GPUs with GA104 GPU might need to reconsider their plans as well. A retailer called Nugent Kong PC is seemingly unbothered about this fact and is now offering systems with 8 RTX A4000 cards strictly for crypto miners. Each system delivers about 50 something megahash a second, or 500 megahash a second of Ethereum hash rate, and is cheaper and faster than RTX 3070 Ti consumer GPUs, retailer claims. Now, this is important because you really don't want to be comparing to the 3070 Ti. The only real reason people are comparing to the 3070 Ti right now is it's really the first GPU that's coming out to the retail market, to the consumer market, that's available at the lower prices, the new MSRP, as GPU prices start coming down. Now, why is the 3070 Ti one of the first ones to really start doing that? In my opinion, that's because it's not actually that great of a GPU, especially for cryptocurrency mining. It does have typically higher power consumption and definitely not as good from the hash rate to power consumption ratios as a lot of the other options, even like the A4000 GPUs here. Obviously, we don't understand how this is even allowed and how proud all of those companies mentioned on the storefront supporting crypto mining business. But does this really matter now when crypto boom is almost over and GPU prices are returning to normal? Probably not. Is this something that should be written about and touted till we never hear about it again? Of course it should. Now, obviously, this is a disgustingly slanted article. It really has, in my opinion, no place within journalism, but you kind of expect it from these outlets. What they should be doing here, if they really want to be honest about it, is talking about the current profitability of Ethereum with the threat of the merge and the decreasing price. They should be providing, of course, sources for this entire statement here as well. And I think it's also, unfortunately, when you write in this manner, it's a bit short-sighted, because what are we seeing today? We're seeing good profits in other alternative cryptocurrencies outside of Ethereum that definitely do still pose a threat to GPU supply. And so it's kind of weird that it was written in this way. And I understand that you're going to appeal to your base as an outlet, but I'm getting kind of tired of a lot of journalism and the way they appeal to their base and completely ignore supplying sources and so on. And we see it everywhere, but we definitely see it within the tech industry as well, as it surrounds cryptocurrency. Let's go ahead, because now, the gamers are going to be like, yeah, F the miners. And it's like, okay, cool. But you didn't really supply any relevant information or sources. Kind of yucky. But let's talk about Riot Blockchain. Bitcoin mined rises to 511 in March. The company also sold 200 Bitcoin during the month, raising 9.4 million US dollars. Bitcoin miner Riot Blockchain produced 511 Bitcoin during March, up 176% from 185 mined a year earlier. As of month's end, the company held 6,062 Bitcoin on its balance sheet. In a somewhat unusual move, Riot also sold 200 Bitcoin during March at an average price of 47,090 each, for a total of roughly 9.4 million. The company earlier this week filed a shelf offering for the sale of up to $500 million US dollars in stock via an at-the-market program. Riot received another 1,080 Bitmain S19J Pros during March, deployed 4,440 S19J Pros, and has another 5,030 units ready for deployment. There are also another 5,430 units that Bitmain has shipped and Riot expects to receive during April. Once all of the machines have been put to work, Riot will have a total of 53,379 miners working, with a hash rate of about 5.4 exahash a second. By January of next year, the company expects to have a hash rate capacity of 12.9 exahash a second, which assumes full deployment of about 120,150 Antminer ASICs. Riot's stock price is up marginally in after-hours action, but fell 7% during the regular session amid a broad sell-off for Bitcoin mining sector. Marathon Digital, which we talked about yesterday on the show, shares dropped 9.2%, and Hive Blockchain was down 5.2%, and Hut 8 was lower by 5.8%. And remember, Marathon Digital has basically said, we're ready to sell. I think that a lot of these mining companies that got in early. We talked about this yesterday, or got in late. We're seeing some cold feet. Marathon, we're seeing some cold feet. I believe some of the partnerships you saw with Hive Blockchain are showing some cold feet. It is important to note that the mining companies that are invested in both Bitcoin mining and GPU mining have not dropped as significantly. And I think there is a couple reasons for that. I think they're a little bit more diversified, of course. And then right now, if you look at what is going on with the hash rate versus the price chart, it's completely opposite of what typically happens with Bitcoin. This does mean that we are in a weird position where we aren't seeing the typical market trends, which would say price goes up, hash rate goes up, price goes down, hash rate goes down. Right now, price goes down or moves sideways, hash rate continues to climb, right? It continues to climb. And in the ASIC market, what you're seeing is essentially very, very tight margins, very high difficulty, and low profitability right now, right? Like we've been looking at the S19 Pros daily for a while now, and it is just slowly trickling further and further down in profitability, where A S19 Pro will run you a ton of money, but will only make you like 15 US dollars a day, which you could get the equivalent of out of 33090s, for example, for profitability, at least while ETH is still mineable, and basically use less power, have less upfront cost, and make more money. That's just the way it goes. That being said, for long-term investments, as we've talked about before, the Bitcoin mining feels safer because it feels like Bitcoin mining is not going anywhere for a long, long time, right? Like 140 years and really beyond, as you will still be able to get those those fees, or that revenue from the fees. So Ethereum miners break a descending revenue trend and rake in about 1.3 billion in March. So back on the uptick, and March is looking good. Let's look at the key points right now from International Business Times. Ethereum miners made more revenue than Bitcoin miners in March of 2022. Ethereum was trading up 0.35% at $3,517.51. Ethereum mining revenue recovered after a declining trend since November of 2021. Ethereum miners managed to break the descending revenue trend when they made a total of 1.29 billion US dollars in revenue in March, an increase of 7.2% from February. After several months of declining revenue, which started in November of 2021, Ethereum miners increased the total revenue they made for the month, according to data from the block. Almost all of the revenue in March came from block subsidy, or is the amount of new crypto minted in each block. Transaction fees contributed less than $100 million, which is the result of EIP 1559 taking effect following the upgrade called London rolled out in August of 2021. That's insane. So fees alone, right? We're talking about everything is primarily newly minted Ethereum, which is that base 2 Ethereum block reward. The fees are basically nothing at this point, and I expect that to continue. To provide context, the Ethereum Improvement Proposal, EIP 1559, aims to change the way transaction fees are estimated. Well, it did change the way transaction fees are estimated. While the old gas fee computation depended on how much users are willing to pay to have miners pick up their transactions, the new upgrade uses an automated bidding system with a set fee amount that wavers based on the network congestion. There is a considerable 5.9% decrease in transaction fees in March. Uncle Rewards, on the other hand, contributed 58.23 million US dollars to the total March revenue. Essentially, Uncle Reward is the term used to pay miners when they create an Omer blocks in the Ethereum system. You still get paid for them on Ethereum. Some you don't. Basically some blockchains you don't get paid for the orphans. Some you do. And usually you get paid less, like in the case of Ethereum. There are a lot of people working on this in the proof of work space, but I guess that would be a whole nother video for us to cover. An Omer block, or Uncle block, is created when 2 or more miners create blocks at almost the same time. The data also revealed that Ethereum miners generated about 1.08 times more revenue than Bitcoin miners in March. Ethereum is expected to transition from proof of work based consensus protocol to proof of stake, or POS. This means graphics cards miners will no longer be useful in adding blocks to the blockchain. When this happens, Ethereum miners will have to use their equipment to mine other profitable coins. Unfortunately, those coins are a lot smaller than Ethereum in terms of profitability. Some Ethereum miners might also abandon mining totally and resell their graphics cards, which in turn will flood the market with used chips. The team has not yet revealed the definitive date of the transition, but is anticipated to take place sometime this year. So what I was really hoping from this article was more of a statement. This was released yesterday. Obviously, yesterday we had an incredible day on mining, and it really didn't matter which pool you were on, and this was due to essentially a huge NFT launch. Now, I can't actually remember the exact NFT launch. I thought it was going to be Ether Royal. I think I'm wrong now, But Ether Royal is one that I was going to talk about because it's kind of interesting. And if you guys are into battle royales, if you're into like that sort of thing, maybe like Fortnite or Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, so on, maybe you would be interested in this. Not necessarily this exact thing, but the idea. Ether Royale is revolutionizing NFT utility. They have 8,888 soldiers that compete in the first NFT battle royale. Each NFT within Ether Royale represents a soldier that can be thrown into the fray to battle over prizes and glory. No staking or gas fees are required to play. One soldier equals one entry. Every soldier will passively battle in a war for a chance to win individual and faction prizes. You do not lose your NFT if you die in battle. You will be ready for the next royale. So it looks kind of fun if you're a gambling man, that sort of thing. I don't think that the art necessarily is anything fantastic or to get crazy excited about, but just the idea that you have like this kind of fun game where you can maybe earn some extra Ethereum or whatever. It says like the season 1 pool here. You have 1 win. Every soldier in Ether Royal has a chance to win. After each royale, the holder with any winning soldier will win 6 ETH worth of NFTs. And that seems pretty cool. And then they have the wins and then the faction wins as well. It's pretty neat. But if you guys want to check it out, you can. I'm not sure that that's the one that really blew up, though. So if you guys can help me out on that one. I don't know why. I thought I pinned it yesterday in my Twitter. But it was definitely a minting process in NFTs. So will the mining profitability that we saw yesterday continue on? And my feeling is no. What we're seeing is what we've been seeing in the past. A huge Adidas NFT launch that drives up fees and miners benefit from that. Then we just have to wait for the next NFT launch that's going to be absolutely massive that will compensate for, of course, the burning of all the fees from EIP 1559. Speaking of which, though, let's go ahead and hop into mining profitability for the day. We are getting an estimated 0.1 ETH, which is $334 for the day. And yesterday we did 0.89 ETH, which was $291 for the day. That's about a 30% increase day to day as far as mining profitability goes. That's pretty incredible. This is specifically on 2 miners, but we're seeing it on other pools too, and we'll get into that when we look at the mining pool profits. This is at, like you can see, essentially 5.51 gigahash. Current hash rate, 5.61 gigahash average. I'm having a ton of heating issues. We should be way over 6 gigahash right now. But we had a record-setting hot day of 93 degrees in April yesterday. I was out there with the door open pretty much all day trying to figure it out. I'm talking to my landlord about ventilation, that sort of thing. I'm not as bad off as the ASIC miners. So basically, to give you guys an idea where I'm at right now, right next to me in the exact same similar building and setup, there are ASIC miners using the exact same amount of power as I'm using. We both have the same amount of power, the same amount of basically power. The only difference is they're fully ASICs. I'm almost fully GPU mineable. On the hot day yesterday, I actually went over there and I'm kind of messing around and I noticed that I don't hear any fans running in their unit. So I went ahead and shot him a text and I'm like, yo, did you shut down? What's going on? He's like, it's too hot, can't run them. So the ASIC miners are overheating to the point of not being able to run. The GPU miners, I'm able to go ahead and gimp along. Now, I've never seen the interior of the building and what kind of airflow that it currently has, but we're both having issues with ventilation, primarily due to the fact that we're both probably going to be moving together to a different location and we don't want to invest in ventilation. In my particular case, what we're going to be working on is basically removing a couple panels from our door and seeing if we can get that to gimp us along over the next couple months. And then possibly just going ahead and installing one fan and taking the hit and paying for it so I don't lose profitability, because being down about 500 gigahash a second for 12 hours a day is not beneficial at all, as any of you may be able to extrapolate from that. So I found it interesting that the ASIC miners can't run at all right now, though. And if we're talking about the same amount of power, GPUs versus ASICs, and the heat and the temperature output and what they can handle from there. So there you go. Let's talk about Luck Pool. I wanted to give a shout out to Hodl Pockets, giving me 25 mega hash a second over there. And Real Regos at 16 mega hash a second. So thank you guys there for pitching in. I believe that puts us at 2 VRSCs, Varus coins a day. I'm definitely going to have to check this wallet out at some point. It's going to be exciting. I am definitely, this month will be the month of more fun CPU mineable testing coins, because we have probably the most significant CPU to be launching for mining in probably, well, ever. Basically what we're going to be seeing is 3D V-Cache from AMD with the new 5800X refresh. And the amount of cache is absolutely insane with the stacked V-Cache. And I think it's going to be one of the more fun new pieces of equipment to test for mining. So definitely look forward to that. I'm excited for it. I'd like to hear if you guys are excited for it down in the comment section below and in the live chat as well. There really has been nothing on par with what's about to happen with this stacked 3D V-Cache. There really just isn't. So maybe the support won't be there for a lot of the miners, but maybe it'll just take off and we'll see like the most profitable Raptorium mining CPU out to date, which is definitely a possibility. And then also we have the new 12900K, which while not going to be super exciting for necessarily mining, it is supposed to be hitting 5.5 gigahertz out of the box, which sounds crazy. Let's go ahead and get into mining pool stats and see if there's been any big changes. We have Bitcoin here, and it's at 218 exahash a second. We see a couple dips, and it's kind of come down from its highs of like 224. This is probably going to happen as also temperatures start to get warmer, obviously. Let's take a look at Ethereum. We're expecting 1 petahash. We see 1 petahash. Nothing new there. Ethereum Classic, we are still sitting right at 28.32 terahash, even as the prices drop down below $40. Will more people start hopping off of this in relation to the price drop, or will they continue to be on it? We also see a significant increase in difficulty as well happening on yesterday on April 5th. It has finally been interpreted into the chart that we did not see yesterday. Ethereum Classic might struggle for a little bit, and I would anticipate just because of the profitability on ETH that we had the past couple days that people look at that and try to jump over to Ethereum. What would I warn you guys about? Remember, if you're currently mining Ethereum Classic, okay, and you look at the profitability of Ethereum from the past couple days, and you're like, whoa, that's so much, I'm going to jump over there. You need to remember something. That is primarily due to a once in an ETH kind of cycle time. So expect profits on Ethereum to come back down because the minting process for these really popular NFTs will go away, and you'll have to wait for another big popular NFT launch before you see those types of revenues happening. That being said, it is good news that profitability on Ethereum mining has gone up, and the fees were really only contributing about 100 million out of the whatever it was, 1.2 billion, was it? 1.29 billion. Out of that, the fees were only doing that. So the base profitability of Ethereum, it has gone up as well, which is good. Let's go ahead and continue to look. There's Zilliqa, but I don't think that you can really get anything positive out of the Zilliqa hash rate charts just due to the nature of how Zilliqa functions. So I wouldn't really pay attention to it much. that's because, once again, you really are only mining Zilliqa for a portion of the time, not all the time. So I think it causes all these APIs to look a little funky. Unless you got it really figured out like EaselMe. Like, I would trust that one. The rest of them, I really wouldn't trust at all. Taking a look at Flux, it has dropped below 2 mega solutions a second. And let's take a look at Ergo. We are at 17.72 terahash a second. Huge increase in hash rate here as what happens. So to me, it looks like there are some miners starting to figure out what's going on here, where the pump happened and then the dump kind of happened in the hash rate, and then the difficulty spiked, and now that the difficulty has spiked, people are dropped again. People are starting to mine again. Looks like whoever is mining Ergo is fully aware of what's happening on the network as it pertains to that difficulty delay, I suppose, is what the best term would be for Ergo and what's going on with its difficulty. Ravencoin still all over the place, very spiky, 3.56 terahash a second right now, and the difficulty has steadied out. Doesn't look like there's any huge changes there. Let's check what to mine for 3090 pricing, because I almost did forget that, or 3090 profitability. Let's fix the Zel hash to 110 and calculate that out. We have Ethereum at $5.38 a day, which is 40 cents a day more than it was yesterday. Clearly skyrocketing there. And then, fun enough, Ergo profitability is up to $3.62 a day. Like we talked about, that difficulty kind of spiked up and then came back down real quick. Zelhash is still more profitable on NiceHash at $3.29 a day than it is mining it directly, where it drops below $3 a day after power at $2.96 a day. Ethereum Classic has dropped significantly as well, settling in under $3 a day at $2.88 a day after power. And that is a surprising one right now. Ravencoin as well at $2.58 a day after power. Mining pool profitability. Let's see what the most profitable mining pools have been over the past 90 days, especially after we had this huge spike in fees. For the past 90 days, you have Flexpool in first, Mining Pool Hub in second, and ZET in third. For the last 60 days, you have ZET in first, Mining Pool Hub in second, Flexpool in third. For the last 30 days, you have ZET in first, Flexpool in second, Mining Pool Hub in third. For the last 21 days, you have ZET in first, Flexpool in second, Mining Pool Hub in third. For the last 14 days, I just lost my mouse. Oh, and I think that we froze. So give me a second here, guys, and let me see if we're still going. I've been having a computer freezing issue lately, which is no fun. Definitely need to go ahead, and I think my hard drive is basically dying. So yeah, so the stream is still live, but actual functioning of the PC is gone. So since it's locked up, I am going to do a hard reset. We'll be right back. We will then do questions and answers. So don't go anywhere. Thanks everybody for all the live stream. I'll be right back. One sec. Live, which I think we are. And let's go over here. We may have to, yeah. Yep. So DNS resolution is messing up on Pihole. And essentially the way that we got back online was by statically assigning an IP locally and renaming the PC, because basically we had set up Pihole on the Synology and as a Docker. And what's happening is that we are having too high of a load So our long-term load is larger than the number of processors, which is slowing down the DNS resolution, which was essentially then creating a network conflict because, yeah, so there you go. That was my problem. Yay. I'm going to have to figure out, probably have to move that to a dedicated machine, maybe like a Raspberry Pi or something, and pull it off. I don't remember what network settings I had to do that. So I'll have to go through and redo my network. But apologies for that, guys. I'll get it fixed before the next show. It is what it is. Sometimes things happen. And it just doesn't go your way. That's part of, I guess, being an IT nerd and then messing things up. So it looks like we're back online for now. Let's get into questions and answers. Sorry about that. I got about really only like 10 minutes for questions and answers. Remember, super chats never required, always appreciated. Unfortunately, we lost about 400 of y'all, or 300 of y'all, or whatever it was. We had a really good day for the stream, so I want to thank everybody for that, for sharing out the stream. Obviously, like, it's somewhat clickbait. It's a true story, but apparently if I put anything about mining profitability or Ethereum in the channel name, you guys are super excited to like pop over. But Stevie said, Ask Tech, given A2000 are more efficient than 1660 Supers, why choose the latter? Well, there's a few reasons for that. One, the fan's really small, and it does end up having some heat issues unless you have it set in a very specific manner, which I would suggest using server cases if you're going to be doing A2000s in general. But the other point is going to be that everybody's trying to buy A2000s and nobody's trying to buy 1660 Supers. In addition to that, they typically just seem to have better cooling solutions for everything across the board, from open frame and that sort of thing to having passively cooled memory modules that you underclock. Hopefully you get Hynix. By the way, all three of the 1660 Supers I picked up recently were all Hynix, so I got lucky there. That was pretty cool. Michael Lavelle says, unplug it and then plug it back in. Yeah, that wasn't working. Essentially, I had finally figured out by disconnecting the internet, right? And then it stopped freezing. So then I was like, okay, what's going on? And then I got into Event Viewer, and Event Viewer was saying essentially that there was already a PC on the network with that name. So I popped into the Pihole from the test bench back here and saw that it was having trouble resolving the DNS because the load average was too high. I think the processor in that DS620 is just not strong enough to handle the amount of DNS requests that were going on, especially once we had a whole bunch of tabs open, and then it kind of took a dump, and then the PC was reaching out trying to grab information and the PC froze up. And that's why our stream was still live, because that connection was already done, right? But everything that the PC was trying to get network information for, it couldn't. So it just locked it up and shut it down, basically froze it up. So after unplugging that, I just came in, statically IP'd the machine, just straight through the, bypassing the Pihole, and then renamed it and rebooted, and then it was good to go. So that's what happened. Unfortunately, I'm sad because that means that I have to reset my Pihole settings and probably get rid of it for a little bit. Benz310 says, thanks for what you do. Any content you put up out is always helpful. Put some Flex Seal on the Pihole. Yeah, so I think we'll probably just, I actually have a Raspberry Pi around here somewhere. Probably hook that up for this in particular, but for tomorrow I'll probably just actually turn down the Pihole's VM for now until I can get going again. It is what it is. Stuff happens. It is how it goes. Detroit Irish says, Ask Tech, have you tried beating it with a hammer? Multiple times. It seems to make me replace parts whenever I do that. You know, Which it gets finicky. It's like, okay, I'm going to need a new graphics card now. I guess I'll have to buy a 3090 Ti. What are you going to do? Justin Palmer wants to talk about the shadow merge. I'd have to do more research on it, but as I've stated, like, it definitely doesn't, I don't see it necessarily being fully confirmed unless there's something I've missed there. Impala says, as Simatech posted before, when to call it and when to move to a new plan from your YouTube post. When to call it and when to move to a new plan. Dance, I'm not sure if that was a question. Dan San says, ask Simatech, is there a way to know which brands of the 1660 Super are Hynix? Where you bought them. So I bought them from Micro Center, but not really, because the way the 1660 Supers are manufactured, you could have pretty much any of the memory modules on any of the models. So from my perspective, it hasn't been like purchasing a certain type has really shown to be Hynix and another type not to be. It's just, it seems to be about the same percentage across all manufacturers. So it doesn't seem to be something that I can reliably predict at this point. So there you go. Let's see. Dorimo says, that's Simatech. I just fried my 1660 Super. Do you know resources so you can learn to repair your own GPUs? It depends on what you mean by fried. I don't know very many resources other than like YouTube, obviously. If it's like burned up, I'd be curious on to how you managed to do that. You could try reflowing it. You could Google how to reflow a graphics card. And all you really need for that is like an oven and some other accoutrements. LesB982 says, that Simatech, is the BIOS flash worth it on the 1660 Supers? So initially I had thought so, but after performing the BIOS flash on like 12 of them and then running it for a while, it's not going to break it. It's just that the temperatures really weren't worth it. So, and the power consumption, right? So your power consumption goes up and the temperatures go up. Your hash rate to power ratio is going to be better if you just take that memory, especially if it's Hynix, and underclock it to the negative 1004 and then just run them like that at 31 megahash a second at 80 watts. I think that's better in my humble opinion. That being said, if you want to flash it and see if it works better for you, it will be dependent on the specific GPU that you do it on. So I know that some people have had more success with different makes and models and so on. John English Tech says, that Simatech power company is here today. 1600 megahash a second is offline for approximately 4 hours. Rip, mining these dips. Bummer, dude. Sorry. But you got power company, which I assume means that you're getting more power, which sounds exciting. Martin says, at Simatech, do you think GPU mining will be profitable after ETH 2.0 and survive after proof of stake? So obviously this question is something that nobody's ever going to be able to predict. So it's going to be up to you and what your risk tolerance is. I would look at it similar to any bear market, meaning that at the end of the day, I think you'll be kicking yourself in 2 years if you sell all your equipment right now. That's how I would look at it, because the fact of the matter is that GPU mining is not going to go anywhere. There's going to be GPU mineable coins, and there will be, and those coins will go up with the rest of the super cycle market, just in general. So as we flatten out here, if ETH happens, I think you're going to see a lot of people get out of the GPU mining, which is also going to drop the difficulty. And if you just get rid of all of your equipment, then you're just following what everybody else does. And the people that follow what everybody else does aren't typically the people that end up on top at the end of the day. So if you're the person that's going to figure out how to accumulate all that, keep your operation going, if you can even just keep it breaking even until the next pump, then I think you're going to be better off. And then people will be like they are when they say, well, you're so lucky that you got into cryptocurrency early. And you'll be the guy that was so lucky that got into cryptocurrency mining early in 2 years. It's the same thing that happened this last time. Everybody that started a little bit earlier than me or maintained through the bear market did better. Bitsby Trippin did amazing. Red Panda started a little bit earlier than me. He seems to be doing pretty good as well. I started right at the right time, basically right before the next super cycle because I saw it coming. It's just one of those things, like I said, where the higher your risk tolerance is, the more beneficial it's going to be for you. Your job is going to be reducing costs. Your job is going to be trying to maintain and survive. And the whole point of life is to figure out how to survive so you can reap the rewards of it later on, right? That's kind of how this works. It's no different than anything else, right? It would be like saying, well, I'm not going to take that internship because it doesn't pay well. When in fact, the guy that does go take that internship and maybe doesn't have it pay well ends up making 6 figures in a couple of years' time after he's paid his dues, right? So I always look at all those things in life from that perspective. It's not financial advice. We can't guarantee that the market will go back up for sure. But if we look at it just from a top, like if we zoom out on the charts and we zoom out on the way these things go, you know, if you're accumulating, you also don't have to worry about the next GPU shortage, right? So if you go through now, let's say Ethereum Classic or some unknown coin, Ergo, Flux, whatever it may be, on the next run starts to take over and starts hitting top 10 on, you know, coin market cap, and it's skyrocketing and you have all the hardware to throw onto it, then you're way ahead of the guy that doesn't have that, right? So that's kind of how I see it. Dark Links or Lynn says, at Son of a Tech, what overclock should I do for your ROG Strix 1080? I don't know the 1080 off the bat, and I also would need to know, of course. I think the best thing to do, if I recall, is still the ETH Largemint pill, which you can inject in HiveOS. John English Tech says, Ask Son of a Tech, unfortunately, it's just an infrastructure upgrades to prevent more wildfire damages in Northern California. Ah, there you go. Plus, you got those power costs there in California, huh? Daniel Ring says, Ask Son of a Tech, I'm really thinking about getting rid of all my L3s. Difficulty is skyrocketing with the L7s. Yeah, and I mean, we kind of knew that that was coming. There's still a case for if you have cheap power and a lot of power that the L3s make sense. Later, you know, if they start coming down in price, you know, if you shake out a lot of the people that have high power costs, L3s might be worth picking up. But it really just depends on, once again, your power cost and the amount of power you have. So, you know, if your power cost is low, those things start dropping back down to like $175 a pop, then maybe it makes sense, right? But then hopefully you would see the L7 start to come down too. ASIC mining is a real beast to figure out, right? Because like this last cycle, right, that happened, I picked up an L3 Plus for $175, made a silly video about it, and then all of a sudden the L3 Plus was making a ton of money. You know, thanks to Elon. So then I was like, oh, crazy. Now this L3 Plus has paid itself off multiple times. What just happened here? So I know with ASICs, from the GPU mining perspective, we always dog on ASICs because it can only mine a certain amount of coins. New ASICs that are coming out push out the profitability and so on. But there's also a lot of guys that are just still mining on S9s. And they get really cheap power, whether that be through renewables or whatever it may be. And they are able to pick them up extremely cheap and just have a ton of them, right? And that's just going to be a numbers game that you got to play with. But if you know, if you're mining out of the house within a single ASIC, yeah, an L3 Plus versus an L7 is probably not going to be beneficial, right? Ryu says, is there a minimum to stake Ethereum? Because according to Ethereum website, users need at least 32 ETH to become a validator. So the way that Ethereum staking works, or noding, right, or validating works, is that you do need 32 ETH. That's going to be if you want to control your own keys. There are essentially staking pools that are going into place. Ethermine is one of them, for example. The downside to that is that you don't control the keys, but you can start basically reaping the rewards of a portion of that validator reward by basically combining your ETH with somebody else. Until somebody comes out with a service that is decentralized and allows you to control your keys, my recommendation would still be doing the 32 ETH, because then you can control your keys and so on. But then if we're talking about that and the investment that it takes, you know, it's very expensive, and you're locked into Ethereum only. So you have to really believe in Ethereum at that point. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. Star says, I'd love to hear more from you on immersion cooling as well as solar power. Will you please make videos on these? I mean, the short answer to that is, if you're trying to run a business, why would you want to spend a whole bunch of money on something that you then have to ROI instead of just increasing your hash power? But I'm going to head out. It's 11:21. So hit the like, comment, subscribe, notification bell. Sorry for the technical difficulties. It won't happen again because we have bypassed that Pihole on this main machine, so we can continue to stream and not have those issues. And I will definitely be working on that this weekend. I think I will need to go ahead and, like I said, get a dedicated piece of hardware to run it. Should you buy, for the last question, says, ask Tech, what happens to residual ETH on our mining addresses when the final hour hits? I have no idea how that's going to work. A lot of these things seem to be unforeseen. The focus of the development team is not to help the miners transition, so I wouldn't really expect much from them as far as that goes. It could be completely possible that the final hour hits, it stops validating, and the pools can't pay out those shares, because essentially you'll have like your estimated revenue from the shares, but no blocks will be being found. So for that last whatever it is, it's possible that those don't ever get found. You know, I don't really know exactly how that's going to work, but it is a good question. Like I said, unfortunately, I don't think that the Ethereum team is going to be helping us with understanding this transition, because it seems like they haven't been, right? So, and then the fact may be they don't even know, and it's a question that they don't even care to answer, right? Because that's not what their focus is. Their focus is making sure that the network doesn't take a dump as soon as they merge. That's their focus. Because they need to sell all those NFTs, bro. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next Tuesday.